Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you are listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a super awesome guest, Miss Maria Wilson. In 1977, Maria Wilson started her amazing musical journey in her hometown of Brooklyn, New York. Maria always knew that she wanted to be a professional guitarist and percussionist and has followed her passion for the last 35 years. Since then, she has toured and opened up for such rock legends as Roger McQuinn and Mi- Michael McDonald and has scored a publishing deal with
Yes.
RDSD,
Yeah, it's all
a
good.
premier solo guitarist with 7 albums of her own, Images of the Past, Mary Artuso's Dream, Generations, Live from the Wire, and Gifts from My Guitar, Epiphany Rising, and Live Fort Hunter. Maria has performed her unique instrumental contemporary guitar sound throughout Pennsylvania and the Northeast and the Southeast. Festivals, college fairs, coffee houses, country clubs, you name it, Maria has played them all. Maria Artuso's Dream has aired on several radio stations as well throughout Pennsylvania. Maria continues to astonish audiences with her intensified and complex instrumental guitar show. She has been performing professionally for over 30 years and has performed at venues throughout the East Coast, including the Belmont Stakes, Columbia Folk Festival, Mid Atlantic Borders Tour, and more. And her music is also aired nationally and internationally. Currently, you can find Maria teaching guitar, bass, and more at her studios. Maria, how are you doing today?
Great. Great. How are you? This is
I'm
fabulous.
Thank you. I'm doing really well.
Fabulous place. Love it.
Thank you. I'm really blessed to have this spot, and we have a lot to go through today. You
Yes.
have lived a lot of life, 35 years or so in the music industry
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Over 30. I'm pushing that. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
Since
tell me,
1992.
you grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Where did this love for music start?
Um, I when I was living in Brooklyn, I was a child. I was in Brooklyn in the 70s and part of the early 80s. And I started actually with a dustpan when I was a kid. I was like 3 years old, sitting on the front stoop on 76th Street in Bay Ridge. And I always would listen to my dad in a 50s group called the Three Friends. And my brothers shared a bedroom because we lived, kind of like a row home, semi detached row home in Brooklyn. And they would have albums like sitting out on the stereos of everything from Fleetwood Mac to the Rolling Stones to the Beatles. So I'd listen to that. I listened to my dad sing at the Beacon Theater, and Paramount Theaters in New York. And I always loved hearing from all the music, the guitar. And then I ended up in the stoop with my mom putting a cup out in the front of the stoop and people would throw change in it. And she always teased me about it. But that's how I started. I mean, I grew up um, through my childhood years, early adolescence in Brooklyn, um, and moved to Pennsylvania in the early 80s. I actually moved to Lancaster. So my dad's job transferred him, and and that's how I ended up here.
So when did you start picking up the guitar?
The actual guitar itself, I actually started lessons when I was 7 years old, and I took lessons from a man across the street who went to Manhattan School of Music. That's where my mom actually, she's alumni of Manhattan School of Music. So she's a concert style pianist. And he was a classical guitarist. And I went across the street for $5 a half hour. We're talking, this is 1977 now,
Right, yeah.
$5 a half hour for lessons. And
What a dream.
yeah, exactly. Right. So I studied with him for like 4 years and it just kind of took off. I was a natural with guitar and music. It just kind of plus it runs in my family. So my dad is an incredible singer and dancer, and he was a disc jockey and got that. I was telling you earlier that radio voice, and my mom's a incredible musician, pianist. So it just kind of it runs, in the genes. So it all kind of came through. But personally, as a kid, I liked listening to rock and my dad's doo-wop group. That's what I really liked, was like listening to the Beatles and listening to Jethro Tull and the Monkees and the Stones and all that, and CBS FM in New York and WPLJ or the WNEW or all the big radio stations. So I got to listen to that too as a kid, the big radio stations in New York City. So a lot of influence, a lot of influence.
Is it,
Then the culture shock happened in the early '80s, and I moved here. The culture shock, big time. So
so at what point did you start writing your own stuff? You grew up with this. You got mentored into the
yes,
guitar, and then what did you do with that?
I actually when I got here to Lancaster, my mom was looking for instruction, like amazing instruction for me, for probably about close to 2 years. But by the time she really found somebody, I remember her coming over to the house, and she had a teacher like listen to me on audition and all this stuff, and I was kind of like over their head because I had already been with Frank for like 4 years, and he kind of set the tone. And then I studied with this woman who graduated from Peabody Conservatory, um, who's a classical guitarist. Her name was Marcia Engler for years. And she had introduced me to Windham Hill and Narada Records, which had Will Ackerman, Michael Hedges. He was my biggest influence, incredible guitarist. Unfortunately, he died very young in a car accident. Um, Tommy Emmanuel, just all these incredible acoustic guitarists. So I was influenced by listening to them, and the classical guitar kind of gave me the foundation to learn all this intensified finger style music. Then I ended up starting to write my own
Mm.
music. Uh, and I wrote my first song. I went to governor's school affiliation, and I wrote my first song was called "Running Down Brooklyn." And this was it's a very intense rhythmic guitar song that I wrote when I was 15, 16 years old. But this was all influential from those record companies, from Windham Hill, Narada, all these artists who were amazing, especially fingerstyle and percussive guitar players. And that's what drew me. Not even so much the classical guitar, that was just kind of the foundation, because that like makes you a better player when you study
Right.
classical and jazz, of course. But I kind of developed my own style from that, and I just applied motion. I mean, that's what music is. It's emotion with sound, um, and just applied my emotions to the music that I was writing. I mean, like literally. Yep.
So you write your first song at like 15. What do you do with that? Do you go anywhere with that? Do you continue? You have 7 albums. I know we know you continue with them, but
Right. Right. I After I graduated high school, my oldest brother gave me as a graduation gift, which was an absolutely fantastic graduation gift. He gave me a boom box.
really?
Remember boom boxes?
Yeah, the ones that you carry around.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, right, next to
Mhm.
your ear, on your shoulder. But, had cassettes. Remember cassettes?
I do.
Okay, we're talking I graduated high school 1988, so if that tells you. Um, and it had an external microphone,
Oh wow.
right? It had an external microphone on I think it was, like, from Sears, it was a good one, though, it was a good boom box. So I ended up recording some arrangements I wrote for classical guitar and some of my stuff that I was starting to write. And I started handing it out, and I went to a place, and my husband and I, we were dating at the time. He took me to this place on Allentown Boulevard called Mally's. It's changed names now, Corey, probably 100 times since this is 1990 now. And I dropped off like a little bio, and it just had like, I went to governor's school, starting college, blah, 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 basic stuff, and the cassette. Well, they listened to it. I dropped it off at 1 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, we're going back to my parents' house for dinner, and they're calling me, and they gave me 3 gigs
Oh wow.
from that cassette. From that cassette, I recorded from the boombox my brother gave me. That was, like, the best thing I got from high school.
That's your
Seriously.
legacy from high
It
school, yeah.
was r that was it, right? So, um, I ended up just I got the booking gig. I like the booking bug, the bug. And I just started calling places, sending these cassettes out, starting press kits. Back then, press kits were like in a folder
Like an actual kit,
kit, an
yes.
actual kit that you'd mail out. I was sending those like crazy and getting booked like everywhere from that cassette, and just kept making and making them, sending them, sending them. And we're talking this is 1990s. And I got married and recorded my first album in my basement, Images of the Past, which has a cover of a fire escape in Bensonhurst, the neighborhood of Bensonhurst, where my parents, my grandparents, they all lived in Bensonhurst, um,
From Brooklyn. Yeah,
In
yeah.
Brooklyn, New York. That was the cover of my first album, so Images of the Past. So, and that kept going out, going out, going out. Yeah, and it just kept rolling. The second one which was my album that really set my tone for my performance career, was called Mary Artuso's Dream. And, my grandmother was like a legend in our family, and most amazing woman you'd wanna meet. And when she passed away, I mean, we all took it really hard. I really, really took it hard when she left. But I applied my depression and my emotion from all that into the music, and that helped me get through.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it really did. And again, I picked up the festival circuit and some of my border circuit from that album, and even some of the college stuff from that album. So it just right there, it just kept rolling and going.
So tell me about the benefits of so here's my question. You were 18, 20-ish around the time.
Yeah, like 20 when everything just started to
How do
roll
you
as a performer.
well, yeah.
I was 20 when I first started playing professionally.
So
20,
so what is it like
20 years old.
for a young woman to go out into I guess Lancaster now? You're in Lancaster. You're in
I'm in
Harrisburg.
Harrisburg now. Yeah, yeah.
What was it like back then in the 90s compared to so maybe now?
Well, I think it's a lot easier. It's way easier to get your music out just because of what we have with digital music marketing, all these, like you got your Spotify, you got your Amazon Music, YouTube, all of that. It's so much easier to get your music out there and to get your music
Heard.
heard. And back then, I mean, people were competing to get on the record. Everything was, get on the record label, get on the record label, get, get published, it was a fight for it. It was competitive, but it was more in the 90s for females. It wasn't as competitive. It's more competitive now. There's a lot more female singer-songwriter artists out there now than there ever was when
I was gonna say
back in the 90s. For sure. I mean, it's definitely more competitive, but it's easier to be heard, and it's easier to be there's a lot more venues to choose from. There's a lot more access, where it was definitely more difficult. And I also had a niche because I'm an instrumental musician. I was
Mhm.
not a singer-songwriter. I was not a Joni Mitchell or an Anna DeFranco or an Indigo Girls type of group. You know what I mean? I was completely instrumental.
So why instrumental?
You know, I used to listen to Michael Hedges all the time. I met him one time up in Harrisburg, my husband and I. He signed a ticket stub, and like literally a month later, he died in a car crash
Oh no.
in California. He was like 40, I want to say 44, 45. And he was my inspiration as a very intense rhythmic percussion player. And as far as on the guitar, that way. And I just loved listening to him. I got so much inspiration from his writing that my composing style emulated a lot of him. But then I also took the classical twist of things and started changing tunings. And I listened to um, Will Ackerman a lot, who's the president, owner of Windham Hill Records. Met him, great guy, just a few years ago, actually, at the guitar show. But did that and just kind of him and Alex DeGrassi, all these guys are fingerstyle players, kind of like listening to them all the time. And that gave me my instrumental. I was just like, I want to just play guitar. I don't want to sing. I want to play. So that's kind of how it all
Ha-
played out.
Have you ever thought about going into songwriting or?
Yeah, yeah. I have a I do an acoustic rock show at the King George down in York. Basically, like most months of the year now, like maybe 10 months of the year that I play down there. I had developed a following in York County doing all their outdoor like festivals and lunchbox review and all this stuff there. And then I got this other venue who they're really good to me that I play there and I do acoustic rock stuff where I'm playing like KT Tunstall, the Eagles, Green Day, the
Mm.
Beatles, Jethro Tull, where I'm REM, all these acoustic arrangements on a rock end with an acoustic. I have a female rock voice. I got that, Melissa Etheridge, Chrissy Hine, Pretenders vocal
A little
style,
gravel, yeah.
right, going on that I do. And I always thought, maybe I should, you know, do like some stuff that's singer-songwriter that's rocky, something rock oriented with my voice on that direction. And because like the instrumental stuff is kind of getting
A little old, maybe.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm like, okay, I
Time,
did that chapter and I'm just trying to figure
time to
out
move on.
it's time to move on. Yep, for
And
sure. For
and
sure.
it would be really cool, I think, if you because I'm all about mashing styles. So
Yes.
it'd be really cool if you can mash a classical guitar into a rock song.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that would be really yes.
and so you mentioned doing some like finger picking and different techniques on the guitar. What's one of your favorite techniques on the guitar?
Oh, I like everything. So, I mean, I'm a tremolo. I like the classical tremolo.
Sorry, I meant in terms of style, like there's flamenco,
Oh,
there's like tapping and stuff like that.
right. Stylistically, I mean, I love percussive. I love blues. Um, I mean, I love. I mean, I love it all. It's you know what I mean.
It's just there.
It's just there. It's just I love everything about the guitar. So
What's one of the techniques you've always wanted to be a try, but you've never been able to accomplish? Do you think?
I'm not I'm not the greatest shredder. Like, that would be kinda cool. Um, I mean, I could play Eruption like every other guitar player but, I mean, that would be just kinda cool to do something
Something new.
like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that why not?
So you've explained how your music is percussive. Can we hear a little bit of that?
Sure.
So tell me about a little bit about the song that you're gonna play. What's it from? What's about? Why it was written?
Absolutely. Okay, so, this song actually that I'm gonna do it's a little bit percussive, but I don't know, this is one that people like really love to listen to from me. It has a Middle Eastern twist to it.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
it. The chord progression was there.
Right. It
Yeah.
has definitely that Middle Eastern, like Egyptian kind of twist to it. It's called Breakaway. It's actually off my Generation CD. And I always like to start with this one because I don't know, everybody loves to listen to this one. But it has to do with kind of breaking away from a stressful situation that you just could not wait to get away. And you were done. And it sounds like when I'm playing it, like somebody's like running through a tunnel and just running away from the stress and the problems that was caused in their life. So, is what it is. I mean, that's basically I wrote this song in 1999
That's
and
when I was
released.
born.
Oh wow. It's a good year.
Yeah, good
It's
year.
a good year. Um, so I wrote this in '99. It came out in 2000 on Generations, and yeah, I mean that's what I was very excited to leave that chapter in my life that
Mm.
happened in the late '80s. I'm not going to go into gory detail of it, but like I was really happy. That was a good day. That was a really 1988. It was a good day. So, um, anyway, this is called Breakaway.
That's super cool. So
1999.
right. There was a lot of things going on in 1999. Forget Y2K, right?
Right. Gee.
You can fix that microphone if you need
Yeah, here we go.
to. Yeah. That's awesome. That's how do you so oftentimes whenever I'm composing something, I'll just be noodling around on a piano, and then I'll immediately forget it. How do you come up with that, create that, and remember the structure of your songs?
I mean, with some of my songs, I've written down some different chord structures just as kind of like on manuscript, just to scratch it, right? And of course, the tuning, because I write a lot of my music, I have in alternate tunings on the guitar. Um, Basically, it's just, I don't know, it's there. Uh, it just sticks with you. For me, all these years of writing and playing and touring, it's just there because you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you might just, like I said, Right, just a basic, like on whether it's manuscript, a lot of times I'll use graph paper that I'll put it down, but it's there. It's just
Mm.
it's there. With a lot of, of course, music, it's applied emotion. I mean,
Yeah,
to
right.
sound is what it is. Um, yeah, it's exactly what it is.
So we talked about a little bit earlier how in the '90s everyone was competing for a record deal, and then you got into a record with
Well, that's
RDSD
publishing.
publishing.
I
Sorry.
In 2008, um, I had I was booking a place out in off the Carlisle Pike in Mechanicsburg. It was Appalachian Harley, and I was booking a lot of acoustic artists and bands. And one was she was had her own publishing company, Sherry Mullen, and Sherry and I like knew each other in the performing circuit and everything. She's a really good singer songwriter and an amazing publisher. Um, as far as what she does on a musical level. And I said, "Hey, can I send you my stuff? I write instrumental. I think this music would be great for TV and film and movies, for clips and bumpers and things like that. And you want to give it a listen?" She's like, "That'd be great. I would love it." 'Cause, I don't think she had that much instrumental music to at the time. So I sent it into her. And 2 weeks later, I got an email saying, "We'd like to sign your songs on, like your music on." And I was, like, jumping up and down like a I was so happy. I felt like I won the lottery when I got that email from her. I was just she's wonderful, person. She's, fantastic. So, I was, I was just completely blown away that I never thought Corey, I'd ever get this far. Like,
Mm.
I started with a shovel in Brooklyn, New York, and I knew I always wanted to do music and play guitar, and I also love drums and percussion. I run a drum circle and program out in Hershey called Crosstown Drumming that I run from August to the end of the year. Um, and I love hand drumming and drums too. So between guitar and the drums, I never thought I'd be doing. I or get this. I'm still like total blessing, complete blessing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you just send them the music and then they figure out the rest.
Right. They send it to their clients, the music to the clients, and they see if it's like a fit
Mhm.
with whether it's a commercial clip or TV or a TV clip or whatever. I know she's had me in several projects, like the Polar Bear Foundation, and I think York
Awesome.
College has used a lot of stuff. Um, I've also too been on, WHYY for with NPR, their affiliate for gun violence. They've used some of my clips, my work.
That's kinda cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And yeah, that was in 2021.
Oh, wow.
That
That's
that was
recent.
recent.
Yeah.
That was recent. That was the
Mm.
last like radio kind of where they picked. I had two of my songs. I had An Innocent Child and Passage of Time
Mm.
for this portraits of gun violence. That was yeah, and watching that was pretty emotional because
Oh,
it
I'm
was
sure.
people who were killed and they made paintings of the people, the families made paintings of their loved ones and they did a clip. WHYY did a, a clip of all this interview and in the background you hear my music through the whole thing. So
Wow.
that was cool. Sad,
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's like
very
it's
sad, but cool to hear the music. I'm like, "Okay, that's
like, 'cause
great."
that's gonna hit a lot of people, and they're
That's gonna
gonna
hit a lot of people, especially an innocent child. An innocent
oh,
child,
yeah.
really, yeah, for
And
sure, for
always
sure.
like those old commercials, "Adopt this dog," or,
Right.
"Spare a penny for"
Right.
right, yeah.
Exactly.
That music always sticks with you no
Yes, it
matter what.
does. It does, for sure.
So what is one project that you have yet to have your music on that you would like to see your music on?
You know, I I don't know. I mean, it would be kinda cool, like, a couple of the tunes I have on Epiphany Rising, which is my most recent album. It was released at the end of 2019. before the pandemic, that I started having my engineer, like, I would give him all the chords and formations, um, and the notes, and he would do the MIDI applications, the music behind.
Woo, my music.
Hello, there it goes. There goes the guitar. It's all good. Um, he would apply orchestration to the back of my music, like what I wanted.
Right.
So I thought maybe doing more of that kind of stuff for movies on a scale, more in the movie realm of the world, kind of like a Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes.
like along those lines, doing that market a little bit would be kind of cool. I always thought about that. Um,
That's my next goal.
yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Love him. Love you can't, I love John Barry.
Really, my
Yes.
favorite composer has to be John Williams is like an
John Williams, of
duh.
course.
But Michael Giacchino,
Yes, amazing.
just his incredible score alone.
Incredible. Uh-huh. Absolutely. So like same thing. Same thing like what your dream is here. Going down that road, but I don't know what my next project is. Right now I'm focusing on education. I'm teaching a lot of guitar and percussion, mandolin, teaching some audio recording, software stuff too. Um, the theater stuff is cool, but I'm not sure what my next big adventure is. I always wanted to get an endorsement.
Mm.
That is something actually that just hit me. That's always been on my list
Who
of
do you want to be endorsed by?
an acoustic guitar company. I don't know, Taylor
Taylor.
Guitars. It's funny. I went to.
Isn't there a guitar company called Wilson?
I don't know. I never heard of it though.
Yeah.
No, I never heard of Wilson guitars. I've heard of Wilson leather.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm
So
thinking about.
about,
Yeah.
But I I would that or Paul Reed Smith or the funny thing is I went to Duquesne University for summer guitar school and workshops in the school to study guitar and recording uh and bass
Mhm.
too. For 6 summers I did that. And Martin Guitars, Martin and Fender, primarily GSFA a little bit, Guitar Society of Fine Arts, they all gave me scholarships.
Oh wow,
Like I got full scholarships for these workshops in this school,
that's really cool.
which is like, so that'd be cool. Fender would be great.
Yeah, right.
But did he D'Addario strings, Ernie Ball, whatever.
Don't take anything.
And I'll take anything.
That's
I
fair.
always wanted to be endorsed. It's actually, I think I feel like I've hit so much of the music industry and those goals, but that one I haven't. That one I haven't.
Maybe when you expand into your rock classical
Right?
guitar singing
Like
style.
right?
Yep.
Like Yngwie Malmsteen. There you go. Except for not that hair.
So you had your most recent Epiphany come out. Then then the thing happened. The pandemic.
The pandemic.
What did you do during then?
Unbelievable. I taught online a lot.
How was that?
I teach at my home 2 days a week, and then I also teach at State Street Academy of Music in downtown Harrisburg, which is a phenomenal music school. And I've been there almost coming up, I think, on 10 years this summer. But we had our students go online for that. I also teach in Mechanicsburg at the Perfect Fifth. Same thing. We went online. And that's what I did. There was a lot of people who did not want to be online and they waited. They all came back to me between both schools. I remember it was July. Yeah, it was July of 2020. Yeah, it was either July of 2020 or 21. I ended up going back in person to the Perfect Fifth, masked up. And it was just me and one other teacher in there. Everybody else stayed. I said, I want to see my students. This is just the online thing is
It's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous.
It's hard, yeah.
And I'm so much better in person. I think most people are.
I was to say
Most
that's
people are.
the only reason why I have people in person here is because it's so much easier to deal with and not to mention, technology sucks.
Yes.
Internet connection sucks.
Yes. It
You
all
can't
does.
hear shrimp.
Yes.
Right? It's god awful.
It's god awful.
And we're not. I mean, thank God for Zoom, but also you can't beat analog.
Look, you can't.
You can't.
You just can't. You can't, Corey. So I also did Facebook Live shows. Like I would play just to play and to have people on to. You see people, you see your friends, you
escape.
You escape.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. I hope to never, ever, ever, ever have to do that ever again.
Me too. I am
It's
thinking. I'm so thankful I went to a private school that
yes,
that we can come back in person, and because you can't teach music otherwise.
you can't.
There's no way.
It's
No
just
way.
no way.
It's not possible.
Yeah, it's
I'd
I'm
argue
with you.
education in general. I think
Right.
it's especially well, some people can do it. They can do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't.
I have colleagues who are still doing it a lot, and they love it. I mean, they love it. I have family and friends
More power to them.
who are my one brother. He's online with his job. He used to work in Manhattan. He is happier than you can ever imagine being at home with his puppy and just working online. Couldn't be happier.
Well, more power to them, for sure.
Right?
And
Right.
and there are some jobs that can absolutely be done online at home, and that's fine. But music, like education wise,
Nice. It's just
you just can't.
can't.
You can't. And dealing with kids online,
Right.
can't. You can't handle it.
They're looking around. They're running to the bathroom.
Their cat comes in.
The doorbell's ringing.
And their mother's like, "What's going on over here?"
Mom's yelling at them. Sure.
So, there's nothing that can beat online or in person, especially with music education, because you singing fingers and everything and technique and everything. It's just god awful. I tried to learn violin online, and forget all the technique of like holding your hand correctly,
Right,
and the bowing and everything.
the bowing. Oh,
Having to figure out what do you mean by holding a hamster in your hand.
Right.
How is that supposed to look like? You can't do that online. You have to be in there in person. So I think it's time for another song. What do you think?
Sure.
Let's
Absolutely.
see how damaged it's got.
Yeah.
Tuning wise.
It's okay. This is my Taylor Mini.
It's a nice guitar. It's really nice. Great sound.
It's got it's made of Hawaiian wood. It's koa. Ooh.
So what's this one that you got?
I'm gonna play this song. Actually, my husband and I, we're huge dog people.
Okay.
Huge dog people.
How many dogs do you have?
2. We have 2 puppies. We have Haley, who's almost gonna be 14 October, and Rocco, who just turned 1 in January. Maltipoo and Bijou Poo. So
What?
They're pure white. They're small and they're fun. They're beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
So they're great. They're our kids. They're the best. And I always said my 2 favorite things in the world are music and puppies. Because they're not. There's no stress. It's easy. You know what I mean? It's it's great. So I wrote this song I call her my angel puppy, my dog Haley. She is completely an angel. She came at a really hard time when we lost our first puppy, and she's my angel. So this song I have gotten more digital play than any other song all over the world. Like this beat out An Innocent Child, which I didn't think that would happen, but this definitely has had the most play. It's called Haley's Run. Experimenting with thumb picks because I got a bad thumb.
Very pretty. Very pretty indeed.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Of course, of course. So where can people find us? You have it on Spotify. Do you have any shows coming up at all?
I have a show. My next like public show is Saturday, April 20. It's either 22nd or 29th at the King George.
Oh, nice.
And that show I'm actually going to be doing some originals and acoustic rock. I think it's the last Saturday in April. I want to say it's the 29th. It's either the 22nd or 29th. I'll have it on Facebook and Instagram and that. But it's not for a while. Right now, I'm in the midst of playing guitar in the orchestra for Big Fish at Palmyra High School.
Very
Plus
nice.
teaching like crazy, teaching a lot, tons of teaching.
So if you ever want someone to teach you guitar, check out Maria Wilson.
Yes. Yep.
So over all of this, I have some general questions that I like to ask all my guests because we're kind of running out of time here. What is one of the funniest or worst things that ever happened on a gig?
Okay. So I was first, it was in the first like year, first, excuse me, year of out playing. I was sitting on an amp. I was at Mally's restaurant and I had a regular gig there. After put that cassette in, I was playing there for 3, 4 years at least. And I was sitting on my amp and there was a fireplace in back of me in the restaurant. And I tilted over and I went flying backwards.
Oh no!
I was on a bar stool. And that's how I got fear of playing guitar on bar stools. That's what it was. I was on a bar stool, went into the amp, I went flying back into the fireplace, landed on my rear and hurt bad there with the sciatica, the tailbone for days. But that was pretty embarrassing. That was, yeah,
It's funny
that
to look
was,
back at now,
I look
but
back at it now
got off on the
so
moment.
at the moment, but back in '97, my husband and we were in a very bad car accident in Utica, New
Mm.
York, on our way to a college gig, and that's taught me a lot about life. Because we're both him and I are very lucky to be here. Because it was our insurance general or salesman at the time. He was a great guy. When he got the pictures back, you know how they take pictures of the accident. Uh, the car was completely smashed, total everything. The roof caved in.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
wow! It was one of the like you flipped over
it
almost.
was yeah, well, we went flying into a ditch and an old telephone pole. My husband hit, and the telephone pole hit the top of the car,
Oh,
and it
that could have
can't
been really bad.
it came on my side. My husband was able to escape. He's a big guy, so he went wham, knocked the door out, grabbed the phone, and ran and got help, and I was trapped. They had to do the jaws of life on me
Oh
and rip me
wow!
out of the car. So, that right after that
That's
time,
terrifying.
I was lucky. I survived that. I went and continued my circuit in, North Carolina, like, a couple months later, and then I started my own booking company that summer. That's when my friend of mine said to me, he's like, "You gotta expand on this," and I started my own booking company in August '97, and that exploded. So, things happen in your life for a reason,
Yes.
and you see what could keep just going, like, you just keep going, you just keep going.
And so you've taught many students over the years
Yes,
nowadays.
thousands, thousands.
What is one advice that you would give to those just learning a guitar? What is one key thing that you need them to know?
Focus. Keep going because music is so rewarding
So
and
important.
it's so important and it brings you so much joy. I make it real fun for my students. My approach is very uh, I do a lot of application where students will learn a basic thing, but they'll learn a song or music they enjoy right away. I'm pretty instantaneous with that. But, you know, focus, keep going, have a good time with it, and it'll bring you nothing but joy and rewards.
Build your calluses.
Right, build your calluses. Absolutely, the calluses are a must. But it's a wonderful thing to have to learn music and to just learn an instrument. Guitar being amazing and or drums, but, it doesn't matter. It's just a wonderful gift.
And a quick comment to building calluses. There is a product, because I know building calluses is a hassle and a half, especially if you just want to play guitar for fun. There's a glove out there. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a musician's practice glove.
I know
And
I have an idea. Yeah, I've never used it, but I know what you're talking about.
well, I use it all the time actually,
Okay, okay, cool.
because it does what it says it does. When your fingers are numb and you can't feel them anymore from playing so much, it protects, because you can build up a callus to a point and then you're just ripping skin off,
Right,
right?
absolutely.
Which is not good
Right,
whatsoever,
right. Yeah, yeah,
and quite
yeah,
counterintuitive.
yeah, yeah,
um,
absolutely.
so I put on the glove, and I can keep going for a long time,
Mhm.
and it's nice and cooling too. So I have sweaty hands. That was like my main plus to it, was that it's nice and cooling. So if you're a musician who wants to work more on a guitar and can't because the calluses are young and they're not built up, do check out the best musician's practice glove. Uh, the founder was on the show and talked about it, and
Oh,
that's where I got it. Yeah.
wow. That's
So
cool.
he's from right here in PA.
Okay.
Um,
What's his name?
Donald Glover. And it's not Donald Glover. It's Donald something.
Okay.
And
Send me a link.
yeah,
I'll totally
absolutely.
check it out.
Yeah,
I can recommend it.
he's endorsed by like several high classical guitarists as well.
Okay.
Like one over in Ireland that I can't remember the name of because I never planned these.
Right,
I'm not
right.
endorsed. I'm not. This isn't an ad either. He doesn't pay me to do this. I just really enjoy his product. So
Cool.
check that out. What is one of the what are some of the biggest mistakes that guitarists or you've seen your students make, or that maybe you have made, and how can we curb that for future musicians?
Well, the first thing I teach when I'm starting students is posture. And
Just look at me.
believe it or not, I mean, and that goes with everything, but
Yeah, really.
posture is huge in playing. It's huge in circulation and
It determines
that
how long you can play your
play
instrument.
your instrument that yeah. Hand stretches. Um, doing a lot of that. What was your other part of your question? Do you
What's
know?
one of the biggest mistakes that younger musicians or maybe you have made over the years, and how can we curb that?
Mistakes. Um,
And that the posture is definitely one of them, because I know so many people who have
right.
messed up because of bad posture.
Right. I'm big on posture very much because I was classically trained
Right.
for so long, and the woman I studied with graduated from Peabody with the master's, so that was big. And Duquesne was big on it too. Gosh, like mistakes. I mean, for as far as a player goes, and musically, I feel like I've been pretty on there. I would say, as far as mistakes go, is more from an angle of be choosy about who you work with and where you're playing and what you do on an industry level. To me, that's more where a lot of once you're getting out there and playing and stuff is if you're going to be a musician and you want to go out and gig, definitely study business
Yeah.
and marketing. To me, you lay that groundwork. Yeah, it's great. You got to lay the music groundwork. But you gotta have the good head on your shoulders. I feel like I've had a really great head on my shoulders with business, but I mean, just certain you learn from like, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to do this? Do I be
What's
more
your brand, and
what's your
yeah.
brand? Be more particular. Go after what you really, really, really want. And if it's just, doing something by yourself or you want to play like in a trio that just does, cocktail gigs, just do it.
Yeah. Don't let whatever.
Don't let
Yeah.
it don't let it eat you up alive as a performer. Because I could tell you, because I was doing for years about 100, 110 shows a year, especially late 90s. early 2000s, that you'll get exhausted and you'll burn out.
Yeah, and I was gonna
You
say,
will.
let
Been there.
you define your own success.
Success, exactly. Let
Yes.
you do it. Don't
Don't let
let
anybody
the
else.
exactly. That's right there.
Yeah,
You hit it on the head.
if success is for you is playing 5 shows a year, that's you've done it.
Done it. That's right.
Congratulations.
I I played Corey. You can't imagine, like when I was a Chain Reaction, like a dive bar here and there. We used to play at this one place called Jimmy K's in Lebanon, and we played there twice, and then we were done. And then I've played the Hotel Hershey, and I've played um, all the fancy country clubs throughout Pennsylvania, some in Maryland that were amazing. Those are the kinds of gigs I'm like, I'm going to do that versus the dive bars and
Right. Yeah,
be picky. Like I know it's
don't be afraid to be
don't be
picky.
afraid to be picky. Don't be afraid to be
Yeah,
picky.
don't be afraid to
I wish
push
I would have
yourself.
learned that years ago, but now I am picky.
So, last question, and we'll get to one of your songs before we end out. Where can people find you?
As far as playing or teaching,
Teaching, you have a website.
I have a website. Yes, it's mariawilsonmusic.com. Of course, I have my Facebook is Maria Wilson Music. Plus, I have a personal page. A lot of people get me on, which is just Maria Wilson, and then I have Instagram, Maria Wilson Music. Um, of course, online, YouTube, all my music's Spotify, everywhere. Uh, via via DistroKid is my distributor. Um, Studios, I have my home studio is at the edge of Harrisburg and Hummelstown in Hershey, um, which is my home.
Not again.
Not again. Which is not again. No. Which is a great location. Then I teach downtown Harrisburg at State Street Academy of Music a couple days a week, and then I teach at the Perfect Fifth in Mechanicsburg, PA. So that's where I have 3 locations where you could find me as a teacher.
So be sure to check that out. If you want to check me out, my name is Corey Rosen. This is the Story Podcast. You can check us out at CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com. We're gonna end off the show with another song from Maria. But before we get into that, check out our upcoming guests this Saturday. We have Colin King. He is a bass player from Sam Schmidt-Huber, who is a local country artist in this area. He has some new music, and we're going to get really dive deep into the process of how you turn a demo into a fully produced song. So we're going to have renditions of his new music to talk about for sure. And then Sam Yoder is a multi-instrumentalist. He's a part of Big Boy Brass, which is a big boy brass band here in Lancaster. So we get to talk to him about that project and his upcoming music. And then this Monday we have Jeff Pittinger, who is the founder and owner, the host of the Music Pipeline, PA Music Pipeline TV show up north. And I'm really excited to talk to him and all of that. So with this said, what song are we about to hear?
Allegheny River, yeah. Allegheny River song.
Tell me about it.
I wrote this behind a good friend of mine's apartment. She used to live in Morningside in Pittsburgh. I spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh between Duquesne and visiting her and my god kids, and I had my guitar with me, and I was sitting behind her apartment, and her apartment, the back, actually the side of it, I think it was, faced part of the Allegheny River. That's where this is.
With that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. This is Allegheny River.